Hi, chickens. Thank you for coming back to another Deep Chat episode. Today, I'm here with Will from Atypical Tarot. I'm very, very excited to get to talk to you and ask you some questions. Will, welcome to my channel.
Well, thank you. I'm excited too. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm very curious. I've been ever since I first saw your content because I think it's so great. I think your take on tarot is so great, and I've just been interested to ask you these questions. So, the first thing I actually wanted to ask you, just on the basis of your content, and I know a lot of people watching this will have seen it, but anyone who hasn't, go and watch it immediately. Go and subscribe immediately. It's very, very good. My sort of main curiosity is around how psychological and analytical your perspective is on tarot, and how you connect it to what I see as more analytical and psychological sort of themes. Do you also have what you would call a spiritual relationship with the cards? And if you do, what does that look like?
I do, and it's grown more over the years, I think. I think that now more so I'm getting more into the spiritual side of it. Before I was really looking at the cards and really making my own perspectives. But now I see it a little bit differently because as I've been using it, I've been able to understand my emotions and feelings more. So it's as a guy, it's kind of different. It's like I never really took the time to process and analyze emotions. And tarot gave me like a medium for doing that. And when I started doing that, I realized that emotions are complex. And I really should have been taking the time to really go deep into what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking about things in certain ways and looking at my behaviors. And I didn't know what shadow work or any of that stuff was until I got into tarot. And as I started doing that, I realized this is powerful stuff. So that side of it, as I've been working with the cards over the years, that side of it has really helped me to deal with, anxieties and things that I go through. Because I have a lot of things that I deal with, different different things that are stressful. But when I sit down with tarot and I have the right atmosphere and I can get into a certain mind state, it really helps a lot. And I think a lot of people can benefit from it if they've never really taken the time to sit with themselves and process and feel their emotions, because those emotions are there for a reason. Those anxieties are there for a reason. It's your body trying to tell you something. And when you dig deep down enough, you can kind of see that it's usually a fundamental thing that your body wants, but it comes out in a complex way in your mind with thoughts. But when you take those back and you go further and further back, you realize, hey, as your body has this fear of X, it's this one thing, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a basic thing. You may not even agree with it. You might think, well, that's not even something that I want, but your body's geared over evolution over time to have certain things that you might be, not really in tune with. So it's been a process of just seeing how powerful that is. So really forming my perspectives and then going back into the cards and pulling out different ideas about what these things might be. So the
Mhm.
analytical part kind of came first, but it was a piece to the puzzle to really go deeper into the spiritual work.
I
Hmm.
love that. So when you first got interested in tarot, you didn't expect this spiritual floodgate to open so much. It was more using it as, I don't know what it would have been like, as a tool for analysis or strategy or something.
Yeah, it was. I was connecting it with science and really looking at it as a way to see how, to see how it worked. And there was a spiritual connection, I think, at first, but it just wasn't something where I saw the actual benefits at first, and I was just experimenting with it. But now, years later, I realized that it's been something that has been an integral part of helping me to understand something so, very complex, and helping me to really see things in different ways and from different angles. And I think that's important when you're dealing with any kind of issue to really look at it in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I've
yeah.
had people say to me that their tarot deck has given them something their therapist couldn't, and stuff like that. And
Mm.
at first I was like, wow, but now I'm like, yeah, it's a deep medicine. It's a lot of people say that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And it's not the only thing. I mean, I still, have a therapist and all of that, but it's something that I can sit with, and so an idea might come and I can take that to my therapist and say, hey, I was thinking about this the other day and I got a different perspective on it. What do you think? So
Yeah, yeah, I take my some things that come up in my readings to my therapy as well. And vice versa. Things come up in therapy and then I go away and do a reading about them. So it's a good combination. How long have you been into tarot and how did you originally find your way to it then?
I think it's been about 4 years. So it was an event, so I can remember the details very well. It was an event that happened that really got my interest. So I had this little white dog that I loved. It was my baby, this little white poodle. And I looked into that dog's eyes and it was always like I just melted. That dog could never do anything wrong in my
That's so
eyes.
sweet.
So I really loved it. And I had these dreams for a few weeks about my dog getting attacked. And I kept having these dreams and I ignored it. I put it off and I didn't listen to it. And then I at the time I was going to church. I went to church. It was a Sunday, and I came home and I couldn't find my dog. I was like, "What? What's going on here?" And and then I got a call that um, there was a coyote attack. So it was very traumatic for me because I guess for me it was more like my baby. So it was if it would have been something where there was an attack, there was a my dog died and I it wasn't so traumatic like such an event like that. I think I would have dealt with it a little bit differently, but because it was an event like that, it kind of stuck with me and I felt like, well, the least I can do is to look into these dreams, look into these dreams that I had before, and how could I, out of just respect, how could I just as a promise do that? And tarot was one of the things that I said, okay, well, I'm going to try this. This is like a good step. And it was something that I felt like I really liked. And so I just pursued it. I kept doing it. And I kind of attached it to that whole event in my life. And it's been a part of other major events. So it's been something that it's been like a friend that's been through this time with me, a darker time with me. It kind of traveled through that time with me and came about right at that time. So I was talking to someone about it, and they were like, "Well, it's kind of like the Fool card. You had this little white dog, and then maybe you follow this dog into the abyss, and you kind of plunge into this thing." So it was something that I really felt connected with that event. But as time has gone by, it's become much more of a positive thing. It doesn't really have that negative outlook. It doesn't really have that negative perspective for me. It's more, okay, yeah, that happened, but now I'm at a different place right now. Now I'm in a much different, it's a different life for me. So it's just a part of what's going on right now. So I see it a lot differently, but that was the event. And I remember a little bit after that, I was like, okay, well, I really am interested in this. I want to connect it to what I'm doing now because as a teacher, I always think, okay, well, prior knowledge is important. So it helps you learn. So whatever you have, whatever you're interested in, if you can connect it with something else you're interested in, it helps to facilitate that. So I said, okay, well, let's see if this connects with anything else. So that's when I started connecting it with science and bridging those two things together. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I can make a YouTube channel about this. So I remember the first tarot reading I ever got. I was like, oh, I want to get a tarot reading just to see, because there was some big life changes that I was going through at the time as well. And so I I messaged Jessie Huntenberg and I got a reading from her. That was my first tarot reading. And I remember when I typed up the message to her, I was like, okay, this is what's going on. And she wrote back and she was like, okay, well, I had these other things, but I read yours and I'm going to drop everything. I'm going to do yours now. And I was like, wow, that's really nice. So she dropped everything. She did that. She sent it back and it really helped me. So after that, I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to, because part of the reading was to go with your heart and do what you feel is right. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to start this channel and pursue this. And so I went in that direction.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. That's a very heavy emotional origin story. It's
Mm.
probably one of the most unique origin stories I've heard of for how, how someone comes to start playing with tarot. And I only realized partway through when you were explaining it that the little white dog is the little white dog in the Fool,
Yeah.
the guy that takes you off the edge kind of thing.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Was that sort of part of the healing journey for you, was playing with tarot and investing yourself? And you really did, considering you've only been doing it 4 years. You speak about it like you've been reading tarot for 20.
Yeah, because it was something that I had that was there, and I just focused on it a lot, and I just absorbed a lot of it. I was watching videos, I was reading books, I was buying different decks, looking at them from different angles, different perspectives, making videos, and I think part of really breaking it down and understanding it was teaching it, because I realized as a teacher, I've been teaching for about 15 years, and I realized that a lot of the things I know and I know well is because you know, I speak about it. And when you talk about things and when you have to put things together and organize them and really think about them in that way, it forms, no, it's just different. It's just a different way of learning. And it works for me. It works really well to put things out there and to just get it out and verbalize it. And so
Mm.
that was a big part of it.
Was part of it that I know you said that you sort of were having these dreams and you kept sort of ignoring them, putting them off, and they're really unpleasant dreams. And of course, you would want to just put them right to the back of your mind.
Hmm.
Was it partly the fact that you believe you were having a deep intuition or a message and you weren't listening to it? So tarot is a way for you to, when you have these messages or these inklings, to actually pay attention to them.
Right, right. So I thought, okay, well, these things, maybe they were just dreams. Maybe it was just a fear that I had because of the area that I lived in. There are coyotes, and so maybe I was just picking up signs. But I'd had that dog for a while, and I'd never even thought about coyotes before. It just never crossed my mind because you know, it just never in my neighborhood seemed like an issue. And it wasn't until then that I had those. And it wasn't because there were any attacks in the neighborhood or anything like that. So I thought, well, I don't want to just ignore stuff, because a lot of times I feel like we we put things off because, well, no, there's no data, there's nothing to back this up, so I'm just gonna ignore it. But I like to, even though I I like science, and I think that data is important and things like that, but I still feel like there's a side that you have to be open to in order to progress, or else you're just stuck with the data. You have to be open to new ideas and new things and not be afraid of that. And there's been a lot of scientists that I really admire that were like that, and they were able to do that and to really navigate through that, all of the, I guess, the blowback they would get from the community, and they did it well. So I felt like, oh, you know what, I can do that too. That's
Einstein was a bit that way. Carl Sagan was a
Yeah.
bit that way. So like scientists that like very much, laymen that like me, I'm not super versed in science, but I know all the scientists I know that are like household names are all very, we're all very mystical or pantheistic, or very much like, look, we have to be open to the angel share of the information here, the stuff we can't get through any cognitive means.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's I think it just stops progress. Like I said, if you just limit yourself to just the information, because you have to be willing to step out there and explore something new. And I think a lot of the inventions and ideas that have come about have been because people have stepped outside of the box, and maybe they were ridiculed for it at first, but over time it became something that we greatly benefited from. So
Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
totally. Was there any point where you were resistant when you started learning tarot, where you were like, okay, I'm putting these down, I'm backing away, I'm not sure about this anymore?
No, actually. I didn't even think about any of the, like, I would hear people say things about, oh, these are dangerous, but it never it never caused any fear or any problems for me at all. And in fact, a lot of the things that I hear people do and certain things, I like to make it my own. So I don't really take all those things and apply them. So some people say, well, you have to cleanse and do these certain things, but I'll listen to that stuff and I'll say, well, is that for me? You know, do I really feel that I need to do that? And some of the things I'll do, and some of them I won't. But I've never really, no one's ever really like said something that kind of spooked me into, oh, okay, well, no, let me back off or let me do this a little bit differently. Just kind of,
Mhm.
I guess it's the Aries in me, just kind of head on into stuff. I don't know, but
Yeah, you don't need to explain that to me. I grew up in a house with an Aries.
yeah.
Well, it was all the women were Aries, Sag, Leo, and then you've got my Cancer brother over there, who's now like the
Ah,
most emotionally astute man I know, for that exact
ah,
reason, probably navigating
okay.
so much fire. Yeah, it's a very head-on sort of the Aries perspective on learning is it's a good one. It's powerful. I wanted to ask you because this is something that comes up. It's never not come up. So I've been reading tarot professionally for a really long time now and teaching tarot, talking about it for a long time. And at no point has this ever not been some kind of hot topic. And it is the court cards. They are like really sticky suckers. People are very unsure about how they want to read them, how they should read them. Obviously, you've got this traditional idea of them being representative of other people in the queerance life, and then you have other ideas about them being personality types or characteristics. Have you got a set way you like to read them?
You know that you mentioned the personality types, and that's one. So but I don't necessarily go with what's written as far as the Myers-Briggs or anything like that. But I do see them as foundational personality types. I think that in reality, it's more complex, so you can have different components for different people. But as a base to maybe see a personality type, it doesn't have to be a person, someone in a person's life. It could be something that they're feeling at the time, or it could be maybe themselves. But it could represent anything to me, not just a person. But I think that I'll start there with that personality type and see if that connects with anything. And then if I don't feel like that's the direction to go, then I'll start looking at the astrology on the card, because I like to look at that because it really does help me just kind of get away from the image a little bit and go into the energy of the card,
Yeah.
because I feel like there are different components that make up that energy that are outside of the image. And if you can get into those, sometimes that'll really help you to just take you in the right direction. So that's something I think has really helped me, especially with like pip cards and cards where they image, like the court cards, like you say, where the image is just someone sitting there, there's nothing really going on, or there's just some cups or something like that. Looking at those things and learning that part, but that took me time, and I still don't know a lot of astrology, but I see the power and the benefit of knowing that. So I would say for anybody really struggling with the image there, try some different things, astrology, Kabbalah, and mixing that in little by little over time, and that might help to get past the image and if you get stuck there. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd add to that like the numerology. And then obviously just having a grip on the suits, the elements that are represented in the suit will give you
Mhm.
just like if you come up totally blank and you're like what the hell, I can't remember, it's just four cups in a formation. Because yeah, non illustrative pips are really still to this day I'm like, this is giving me nothing. I know what it means, but I just can't get anything from it. So yeah, going
Absolutely.
energy number, and as you said, astro, I also need to really brush up on that and get better at it. But yeah, this is a really good point, very good point. Do you ever think of court cards as being aspects of us that need more airtime? Say if one comes up in a shadow position or a weakness position or the obstacle, sometimes I would look at a court card and think, oh, you need to get more Queen of Swords about this. Oh, your Ace of Pentacles attitude towards this is missing, kind of thing.
Definitely. And I can look at the context of the other cards and see how it plays with those. So if there is some negative aspects in the overall spread, and then a court card comes up, maybe that might give me the indication that, okay, well, this court card's in a position where it's not really comfortable. It's not really playing out really well with everything surrounding it. So maybe this part of what the person's going through is struggling because of some things that they're involved with, or some other things that might be putting it kind of crushing that energy. You know, different energies. Like if we think about astrology, like you might have Aries or Mars energy, and if it's associated with something softer like Venus, then it can just kind of be in a bad place where it's uncomfortable. And you can shift those energies around in your life and see, okay, well, how can I bring this out more? How can I work with this more? Hmm.
Yeah, makes total sense. Also, guys watching, I know I said Ace of Pentacles. I meant to say Page, right? I don't think Ace is a court card. I just wanted to let
Oh.
for the benefit of the tape, for the benefit of the tape, right? That was a mistake on my part.
I didn't even catch it.
I did, and I was like, then he started talking, and I thought, oh damn, I said Ace. I just want people to know that I know aces aren't court cards. That would be terribly weird. Um, yeah, so I mean that makes total sense. The personality type, bringing the astro into it is actually something that I think I probably needed to hear, to be honest. And thinking about that more, and yeah, just thinking about what is emitted in somebody's response to something as well, like having to bring those particular characteristics forward. So that's it's good to know. I think we read them in a fairly similar way. What's your opinion on the other thing that I've come across lots and lots and lots, like jelly tots, which is the question of asking something that has a yes or no response to it? So, like, is this person the love of my life? Should I apply for this job or whatever? Does this person dislike me? I mean, actually, I've brought two things in there because does this person dislike me is also a question about an absent third party, which is another thing that some readers don't like to do. So, first of all, the yes or no thing. Should I apply for this job, for example? Yes or no. But then you've also got this other layer where it's like, does this person dislike me? Which is not only a yes or no, but also reading for somebody else as opposed to reading for the querent. Do you find these sorts of questions disempowering? And would you suggest people don't ask tarot like that?
It's interesting. I got a deck the other day and it had a coin in it that had a yes and a no on there. And I looked at it and I thought, well, how am I going to use this? Because I don't really do that. So I probably I like it. It was a really nice coin. It was a real actual coin, metal and everything. It was a great gift to go on the deck. But but I do find it disempowering. I like to make sure that people maintain their sovereignty and their power when they're using tarot. And so when I get questions, if someone asks me a question, sometimes I'll ask them, is it okay if I rewrite it and send it back and just see if you like the way I wrote it? And if that's okay, then we'll go with that. So for example, if they ask me a question like, okay, will I get this job? Then I might rewrite it and say, okay, what things can I do right now? Like I've decided to get this job. I've made this decision. What things can I do right now that would give me the best opportunity of getting this? Is there anything I'm missing? I've done this, I've done these things. Is there anything else? So that way you're taking some steps to do things on your own and make some choices on your own. And you're going to tarot as a secondary source of information where you're just looking and trying to analyze your decision and just spending time with it to make sure that you're doing what's best and you're not really just relying on tarot as if you're the victim to whatever it produces. And I think a lot of people will benefit more from really taking the time to look at their own thoughts and make their own decisions and then process them using tarot because you may get some different ideas by pulling certain cards. You may pull the Tower card and you might think, okay, well, let me rethink this. What am I missing here? Or maybe there's something I need to change before I go to this interview. What can I change? Or just to think about things. And so that power is important that we keep that. And I think that's just something that it goes throughout spirituality with anything that we do, whether it's tarot or anything else. It's important to maintain that. And I've always felt like that was really important. And I I know a lot of people don't resonate well with the Emperor card, but for me, I never had a huge issue with that card. It was a card that I saw as your personal power, a reminder that yeah, you have these other things, but also you have this responsibility too to be the emperor of your life and to make that stand against uh, being in a victim state because I think that as we transition throughout different time periods, we go through different phases as a society, as a collective, And a part of that is coming out of, I feel, patriarchal type of thought, where you are the victim to different organizations and different religions and different dogma, and you can you can stand against that by tapping into your own freedom of thought, your own freedom of uh, of expression, because we can't allow that to be taken away by anything, tarot or anything. It's going to be the same situation, except instead of it being someone in a church or whatever. I have nothing against people's choices, but I'm just saying, like, instead of it being something like that, it could be anything. So you just have to kind of watch that. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect and that I don't fall to the victim mentality. Sometimes I do, but I try to catch it. But there are things that I think are important to just kind of be uh, be guarded about a bit. Hmm.
I agree. I love the Emperor card. I didn't used to like. I had a difficult relationship with the Emperor. As you mentioned, a lot of people don't vibe with it, and it's true. I didn't. But then I realized I had to find the Emperor within me. I had to be like, oh, the Emperor exists in this space where I'm cutting off from toxic family dynamics, and I'm saying no to pre-existing scripts I don't want to read anymore, and I'm leaving work, leaving my office job to go full time with my business. Like, these are all very Emperor moves on the chessboard of life. So then once I started to see myself be Emperor like, I was like, okay, now I can see you inside me. So you're not really a tyrant anymore, because I can kind of see how I'm operating from your space. So then I became, very much in love with the Emperor. And I think you're right in bringing that Emperor card into this discussion, because I don't think the Emperor would let us ask yes or no questions of tarot. The Emperor as a reader would be like, we're reading that. Well, let's get a rephrase on that, people, because no, we're
Yeah.
not doing that. I don't think the Emperor would let me. I think if I went to the Emperor for a reading and I was like, does he love me? Tell me true. The Emperor would be like, get out and go, come back. Got some sovereignty.
Yeah, right. I
So, yeah.
agree. I agree. I think so. And I really I resonate with that card somewhat. There are some sides to the Emperor where I'm kind of like, nah, I'm not like that. But it is an Aries card. It has Aries energy. It's Aries and Mars and all that. And I I kind of I never really saw that side of me until actually I got into tarot and I actually saw, okay, well, yeah, I do have some Aries energy, but I never thought of myself like that. And I know it goes more into like your entire chart, because I know like my moon um, and ascendant sign as well play a role in it. But I think I am, very much Aries in certain areas. So like I look at my birthday's 4/4. My name's Will, which is part of Aries. Will, that's the part of the astrological meaning for Aries. And then I am is the statement for Aries. So Will, I am. So all that stuff kind of surrounds me. And so mine falls in the eighth house, which is the house of the occult, the house of hidden knowledge and secrets. So I was like, I think that a part of me is kind of putting that Aries energy into the unknown, into the occult, because I feel like I don't really have a lot of the fears or a lot of the worries. I just kind of do it, and it's kind of like, okay, well, this is what I like, and if someone tells me no, don't do that, then I do it. Especially if it's dealing with anything hidden, it's the stuff that I will look at. It's like, oh, you're telling me not to? Oh, I think I'm gonna look at that.
Oh, that's very Aries. Oh, is that a
Yeah.
dare? Double dare? The
Yeah.
triple dare? I'm already doing it. Yeah, that's part of the Emperor vibe that I love so much. Is just kind of, if you tell me I won't do it, tell me I can't do it, or tell me I'm not allowed to do it, that's almost part of the fun. So, and that is, that's so much to do with sovereignty. I think to approach tarot that way is to approach it in a way that empowers you. Actually, just rolling back around to how I said earlier that my question examples actually had this other ethical question in of like, would you read for others or not? Do you read for others that aren't present during the course of the reading? Like, for example, do you believe you can read for someone on whether or not their partner is cheating, or if their partner really loves them, or that kind of thing?
Um, well, if someone asked me that kind of a question, I think I would try to rephrase it again. I would try to word it in a way that maybe maybe looks more at them, like what are the things that I can do to make sure I have the happiest relationship, something like that, and kind of see if they're okay with that. If they're not, and they really feel like they want to have a predictive reading and they really want that, I'll respect it. But I will tell them that that's not something that I do a lot of. And when I do predict in a reading, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it's you pull a card and you feel like I just need to say this, and it's predictive, but I just feel like I need to say this. But
Mhm.
I don't go out with the intent of telling someone their destination or destiny. But I feel like if they want to accept that and that's what they're looking for, then I will answer the question as it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how you said that you do find that predictions might come up in the course of a reading, because that's what I often say to people, is that I get intuitive insights, questions to do with probability might come up, so the high probability that this might happen, or things that are beyond any knowledge I have of any of the cards, but together they just paint this picture and I have to start talking about the picture that is being painted by the cards, that kind of thing. But I would always say that that's part of the magic of the reading in the moment. It's not like I know I can tell you these things before we get into the reading space. And it seems like you're similar, that if things come up and you feel very called to say, this is happening or this won't happen, or if you do this, this will happen, or whatever, then you let yourself do it as part of the unfolding moment of the reading, as opposed to saying, I will always do that.
Yeah, yeah. And if it does come up, I'll try to not leave them with that. I want to give them it, like, especially if it's something that's really serious. I feel like there should be an ending that gives them many options, many things to look at, and many directions, and just that this is a possible scenario if things continue in a certain path, and what things can you put in that path to change or alter it, and that it can be. It's up to them. It's always up to them, whether
Yeah.
they decide to or not. Hmm.
I completely agree. Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any cards you don't like? I know I said I had a problem with it. Me and the Emperor had a rocky road. We're fine now, but it was rocky. Are there any cards you've wanted to punch in the face a little bit?
When I first started, it was the Hierophant. I don't mind the Hierophant as much now. I think I'm coming to terms with it. Just by looking at different decks and looking at it in different ways, I can shift from the original thoughts that I had about it. Because I came out of a religious system that was oppressive in a way for me personally. Yeah, I mean, people have different experiences with it, and I respect those differences. But I'm just talking about my experience with it, and so it wasn't good. And so I associated it with that, and I thought, well, why is that in there? And there's a lot of biblical things in the RWS system, and you have Adam and Eve, you have the Tower of Babel, you have the Last Judgment, all these different things in there that when I see them, I think, okay, well, what is this? Why? And I've just had to look at different perspectives on it, using different decks to really come up with something that really works for me, because I think that that's how spirituality is. It's not going to be the same for everybody. What works for me and what helps me to grow and to learn and to deal with challenges is going to be very different from other people, and I respect their decisions, but at the same time I do have to make things my own so that they work, because it's like that with most things. Well, why wouldn't it be like that with spirituality? I mean, I know people that that do different jobs and they do them very differently, but it works. So different mechanics use different tools and they can do the same thing that other mechanics do, and they are different artists, use different mediums or different types of brushes and pencils, and it works for them. So I think when it comes to spirituality, we should be even more accepting of those differences and approaching it, because it's something that is I think deeper than just any other job or any other hobby or thing you might have. So it I think it's valuable to allow people that.
Mm.
And I really do. The only time I ever have a problem with anyone's spirituality is when it starts to infringe on the freedom of others, when it becomes oppressive, when it becomes guilt driven and all about numbers and gaining members and things like that. That kind of stuff to me, I feel like is the issue with a lot of religions. And because there are some beautiful things that come from different people with different backgrounds, but when they try to force those things on other people, it just comes off wrong. It just doesn't come off right. And that's one of the things that drove me away. And
Yeah.
mm,
So were you driven away and then you started playing with tarot afterwards?
I I had left. I was going to church for a long time after I'd actually shut it off and was done with it. It was because you have those expectations from others. They're just like, oh, well, this is what you should be doing. And so you just go through the motions. "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go do this. This is what I'm supposed to do." But I wasn't there. I was there, but I wasn't there. And a lot of people are like that. And that's why you see some of the behaviors you see when it's churches teaching one thing, but they're off doing something totally different. It's because they're just going through it and they're just doing what they feel like is right,
Mhm.
not for themselves, but for everybody else's sake. And that's tough. That's tough because your individuality, who you are as a person, is very powerful. And if you're oppressing that and you're holding it back because of restraints and things that are really pinning that down, you're gonna start resenting those around you that are putting you in that position because over time you can't well for me I couldn't maintain that, and I'm a pretty tough person when it comes to just kind of letting things slide, but over time it'll just break you down and you and who you are will come forward and it'll have to shine through. And when it does, it's it can be very difficult for the people around you to try to deal with that because you're realizing just how much you want to express that and you want to live your life, and they're going to give you that pushback, but you got to stay strong and just say, hey, I'm not going to church anymore, I'm not doing these things anymore. And yeah.
Social pressure that's connected to religion is so potent and heavy and just weighs on you. I never had the experience of having to give up the family religion or having to tell my family, like, I'm not doing this thing anymore that I've been trained to do since I was a kid. But other members of my family have. I come from in some areas a very devout Irish Catholic background, and certainly my dad and his brothers had to be like, look, this is we're not into this, we're not doing this anymore. Now we've left home, we don't have to, we're not going to. And it's hard, you disappoint people, and I guess you don't know how people are going to take it and stuff. I didn't know this about you. I don't know if you've spoken about it on your channel before, but it's certainly not in any content I've seen. But I didn't know that you were a churchgoer and left. Was that an issue for your family at all?
Well, not so much for my family as far as like my parents or sisters and brothers, but I was married at the time, and so my spouse at the time was deep into it, and to the point where me leaving was catastrophic. It was it was pretty much an ultimatum, and so it broke everything up. It busted that whole thing up because I couldn't be the person that she wanted. There wasn't who I was. I tried for many years to just stay in that situation and do that, but it just was not what I could do, and it was just I felt like I just didn't have a choice. It was either be me or not be me, and being me won. It had to, or else I would have suffered. It wouldn't have been. It would have been too. It would have just been too much. And I know it may sound weird to some people for that to happen, but it depends on the relationship, the dynamics between the two people as to what compromises you're going to make and whether you're going to allow someone the freedom to make their choices. And I think that there's a balance. There's things that I could have done, things that she could have done, but not to put not to put her down, but I felt like it was a bit one-sided where I was giving a lot. And it just didn't work out. Yeah.
Mm, I've tried to imagine it. Thanks for sharing that, by the way. I think that's really I think it's a really powerful story, and it illustrates how difficult it can be, and how much is like hanging in the balance in the face of having to be authentic about that, which you do have to. It'll I think it's really, really bad for the well-being to just pretend something until your deathbed, because
Right.
that's what keeps other people in comfortability. And also,
Mhm.
how can you have the depth and richness and closeness of a relationship if you're like, yeah, totally, I love to sit on the porch and read the Bible with you, like, banging,
Right.
this is a great night in, babe.
Right. And the thing about it is, like I was telling you, I went to church for years. I mean, I was trying for years. And so I didn't want to not do my part. I didn't want to just say, okay, I'm gonna throw this away because I found this. This doesn't work for me. So forget it. Trying to make it work for years, really trying. But at some point, who you are is gonna win out. And if the other person isn't willing to at least budge in some areas, it's just tough. And the thing about it is, it's not you that they're in this relationship with. So they see you as this person that's putting on this front of, oh, I'm going to church. I want to read the Bible. We'll sit on the porch and read the Bible. We'll do this. But really, they don't even know you. They don't know what you're thinking at that time. I was thinking, I really don't want to sit here and read the Bible. What are we doing? And they don't know me. So you're like, you don't know me. So how do you even love me if you don't even know who I am? Because I can't show you, because if I show you, you're not going to really like that. You may not even accept that side of me. So if you can just maybe look at it from a perspective that's a little bit differently, and just take the time to look at what I believe, and consider it a little bit. And I don't know, just give me some bit of understanding, then maybe some things could work there. But if not, then you're never gonna really know the person.
Oh, it's
And that
lonely. The idea of that is
it's
so lonely.
yeah, it's like a separate identity, a separate life, and you can't do that. Yeah, you can't.
No,
They're two
no.
separate things. Yeah.
I think going back to the Hierophant, that's why people don't like it, because statistically for card slingers, it's the least liked card. And I think it's because, as you said, when you were trying to sort of bring your relationship with the Hierophant to balance, you were thinking, okay, there's lots of great things about religion. There's lots of people that are religious that are awesome. Culturally, it gives us stuff that's great. But I think sort of on balance, most card slingers are like, it reminds me of the dogmatic part, the social conditioning part, the you have to follow these rules for no particular reason part, the inequality of it. And I don't think the image of the Hierophant helps, where it's like this very sort of, well, it's like a pontiff, right? And these like cloaks and the hat and everything, the regalia with the sort of bowing people in front. And
Mhm.
I think it doesn't help the feeling that card slingers get of like, yeah, that's everything that I left religion over. That's everything I don't enjoy about religion.
Right, right. And I think about it, and I look back, because I was the religious guy at some point. You know, at some point in my life, I was the guy. But it's and so I look back at that and I think, well, did I need that at the time? Was there something that did it put me in a direction at the time that helped in any way? And yeah, there were some things that helped, right? And I think that I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone, or any other group of people that follows any other spirituality is better than any other spirituality. But I think that some people, they may need to be in the presence of the Hierophant. It may, because there are prisoners that come out of prison and say, "Oh, if it wasn't for Jesus, I would be out doing this, this, and that." Well, I don't want them out doing this, this, and that, and robbing and stealing and doing whatever. Yes, please go to church. If that's going to stop you and make you a better, please go for now. That's good. That's a good thing. You need that. Uh, but I think that once you get to a certain point, and again, not saying that this point is better or more evolved or anything like that, but you feel like, okay, yeah, I don't need, I know it's wrong to do certain things, and I don't want to do them because they're wrong, not because Jesus is holding me back, but because I feel like they're wrong eternally. I see that they're wrong, and I choose not to do that because it's not right, not because I have this huge desire to do it, but I just don't want the punishment. So it's that kind of thing, I think, that kind of separates that. But again, it depends on the person. I'm not trying to I don't know everything, but from what I see, sometimes that could be an issue.
I agree. I think for me, I would always want to just have, I would want to feel like my internal compass is pointing in the right direction, regardless of what's going to happen to me in the afterlife, or what like this omnipotent being is going to think of me. I would like to I would like to believe that if I knew without any shadow of a doubt there was absolutely nothing afterwards, and this is it, and it's just all kind of,
Mm.
that's, it means what it means, and ultimately it means nothing, I would still not want to, like rob people or,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I kind of, I'm happier there.
Excellent point. I mean, even if you know it's just this and that's it, yeah, still do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was when I was in the military, one of my drill sergeants would say, "Hey, your test of your character is what you do when no one's around, when no one's there to see it. What are you doing? Are you going to pick up that piece of paper still? Are you going to do these things, or are you just going to do it because the drill sergeant's here looking at you?" So that's what they were looking for, and yeah, they taught me to value that in people. So even as a teacher now, I'll do things to see what that character is, in some of my students. So for example, I'll I'll give an assignment, and maybe I'll forget about it for a while, and I'll remind them, and especially if it's an assignment where like three people have done it, and I'm like, okay, come on, guys, do this assignment. It'll be good for you. And then after a while, I'll just say, you know what, that's it on the assignment. But for those three people that did it, I'm bumping you up a letter grade, and I'll give them a huge reward for that because I respect that. I respect the fact that, maybe they thought that this wasn't even something I was going to ever look at again. Maybe they thought this was something that was just going to disappear, but they did it anyway. And so I'll take them to the side and say, hey, this is what I'm gonna do for you for that, because I that's a good quality.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's awesome. So
Mm.
you're teaching something else, Will. You're teaching your subject, and you're teaching building character and doing something because it's right, as opposed to what you'll get for it.
Right, right. I think that's important, and I like to try to bring that out of students so that they understand that, it's not just about going to school to get these grades, or
Mm.
to make your parents happy. Because a lot of students, go through the motions of, okay, I'm going to turn this in because he said turn it in. I'm going to do this because he said do this. But then you have some of those students that just do things because they maybe they are doing it just because I said to do it. But there are some that are a little bit different, and I try to see, if I can find that, and that
Yeah,
quality, and because they show that true interest, and I think
that's
that's
good.
awesome.
I'm going to ask you this question because I know that there'll be at least one person. It's like kind of a
Mm.
personal question, but it's at least one person is going to be like, I want to know this, because at least one person watching this for sure is going to church and like pretending that they are into it or whatever, or
Mhm.
doesn't know how to broach it with someone they love or they live with. When you look back now over that time, do you think that's absolutely the right thing I needed to do? And like the marriage crumbling as a result of that is just part of what had to happen for me to come to my authenticity.
For me, it was absolutely. However, I think that everybody's situation is different. And some people have kids. Some people they're in an environment where if they leave their religion, they're going to get persecuted or whatever in a different country. There are different scenarios. So I can't just say one size fits all, because there could be some serious consequences to one person leaving versus another. So for me, I don't have any biological kids, and that wasn't an issue for, and that if I would have had kids, that would have made that decision entirely different. It would have been a very different decision for me, because I, I really I really would have been thinking of them and really trying to figure out what the heck to do. It would have taken longer. It would have been tough. So I make it sound easy because of my situation, but it's not easy for a lot of people to just step away from it. And so if you are in a situation where it's challenging and different, and there could be some serious consequences for saying your views and for expressing yourself, then I I don't have the experience with that, and I can't I have a lot of respect for anyone that's staying in situations for different reasons. So I I don't know how to deal with those challenges. Those are huge societal issues that are I don't know, they have to be worked out as a whole, as humanity. That's something that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
one thing I think is really important about your answer is a lot of the time I found that things that can't be figured out easily, things that are very complex, like for example, situations with children and stuff like that. I think it's just good to honor somebody's position as being different from you by saying it's not easy. And I understand if you feel like you have to do this until the kids are a certain age, or I understand if it's not, you don't have the same access to getting that different life as I did in the same situation, because it's not the same situation. And sometimes I think I don't know the answers to things, but just to be able to say that is a very complex situation, and no one can say you're wrong for continuing to go to
Hmm.
church or continuing to toe the
Hmm.
line, because you have your priorities that you have, and you have your things you're dealing with, and I can never know what your battle actually is. So I think that's just a very compassionate way of looking at it, for sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what did you say?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where they have a lot of strength to me. They have a lot of
Yeah,
strength
yeah,
to do that. Hmm.
definitely, definitely. Okay, so I've got some sort of more quick fire tarot ones for the end. First of all, what or which tarot cards describe your personality? Well, would you say?
Well, okay, so I really like the High Priestess card. And that's one. It goes between the High Priestess card and it's got to be one of the cups too. One of the court cards on the cups. Sometimes I'll look at the King of Cups or the Knight of Cups between those two. But it's definitely a cup and the High Priestess. And the reason why it kind of changes is because I find that the High Priestess is very intuitive, very inward, but I also want to foster the emotional side of it because the emotions are very powerful. And I think with manifestation coupled with emotion, that's where you get the progress. It is,
Yeah.
I think, something that I'm learning. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I do feel like when you can try to feel whatever you are, you know, when you go inward, if you can try to feel that emotion and keep that emotion with you, it helps to go out and resonate with your environment. I think that it helps to really other people can feel that energy. You're different, and that really helps. So, like with the high priestess energy, sometimes I feel like I come across as that closed off and a bit more on the more moody side, but but also inwardly, I really do have a lot of care. I really care. And I want to
Mhm.
help, but it's hard for me to really show that outwardly as much. I think I show the more solitary part of me, kind of
Mm.
standoffish part, a little bit more uh, than what's really there.
Is
So,
that a self-protection thing?
um, that's a good point because yeah, because yeah, when I was younger, I felt a lot. I felt people's energy a lot. So I grew up kind of not like, what is this? Why do I not want these people to come around me? They haven't done anything, but I feel what I'm feeling. If they're feeling a certain way, I don't want to feel it. So the best thing to do is to shut it off, to put up a wall and just say, okay, well, we'll keep these people outside of the box, just kind of stay where I'm at. So I don't have to deal with what they're dealing with. And as time went by, I didn't know what it was. People would just say, "Oh, well, you're just quiet. You're just shy." But I didn't feel like I was shy. I was like, I just don't want to communicate because there's something else there. And it wasn't actually until I got into, spirituality, got into the tarot community that I realized, oh, that's an empath. Oh, that's what that is. And I was like, okay, that helps a lot to know what that is.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, got quite a few of them in this neck of the woods, actually, the
Oh, yeah.
empaths.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that we decide, not we, but like people decide, oh, you're just shy, you're just reserved, you just don't like to
Hmm.
talk much, and not knowing there's this whole whirlpool happening underneath the surface that's completely related to something different.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so a knight or a king of cups and the high priestess. How many decks do you have roughly in your collection?
I think I'm up to probably like 80 or 90.
Mm,
I think so. Yeah, and in all of them, I go through all of them and I think, okay, well, is this too many or is this do I and but I look at all like when I write my videos, I'll go through cycle through all of them because I feel like sometimes one will just like come out with a message for a video that's like bam, there you go, and it fits perfectly. And so I think they're all there for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. And I think it's good to go through and sort of prune or ask yourself, do I need this, or does this need to go on to somebody else?
Mm.
But yeah, that's it. That's a good healthy number. I'm over that number now with my Oracle decks as well, but I can't remember exactly how many. But I think I'm about to 100 now. So, and yeah, like you, I've got love for all of them. And if I didn't, I'd go and swap one or send it for sure. Would you give some advice to anyone who wants to learn tarot but is feeling a bit overwhelmed or a bit intimidated? I know there's lots of people at the moment that want to start but are a bit like, oh my God, it's 78 cards. What am I doing?
Yeah, I'd say to, start, first of all, just start looking at the images and becoming familiar with them. Do readings for yourself and don't worry too much. As you go along, it'll start to come together, make a lot more sense. I would say if you try to remember everything up front, you can continue to procrastinate and put things off because you're just like you said, you're overwhelmed and you don't want to be overwhelmed. It's not a good emotion, not a good feeling. So then because you feel that way, you'll just kind of push it to the side. And so maybe to just take it a little bit easier, step by step, and add things as you go. Because just expose yourself to, I don't know, just read or listen to other people talk about it, and just kind of absorb it for a while, and eventually it'll come. I think, I think it will. Like, and also, you know what? I would say at some point just try to have the attitude to share spiritually, because I've always felt like if you're getting something inward, or if you're getting something from spirit or wherever you feel like you're getting it from, the more you want to share it, the more you'll get, because it's not just about you getting information. I think it's about everyone. And the more it goes to everyone, the better. It's like if I was in a different realm and I wanted to communicate a message, I would rather call someone that's on a group chat than someone that's just got one line open. And so I would give all the information to whoever's broadcasting it on YouTube first. And so I feel like just whether you feel like you're right or not, just be open to sharing. And that will facilitate that and push that further more. You'll start to get things. Things will come, and I think your intellect will enhance a bit, uh, just because of that. I don't know. That's just my thought on it,
Yeah,
but I
that's
don't,
really good.
I could be
I
off.
like the fact that you mentioned just absorbing. People go straight to the scholastic, right? I've got a notebook and I've got this and I've got the post-its and I've got it all, and I'm going to have one page per card. And I think it can get, yeah, the pressure and the overwhelm when you could sit and absorb, listen to podcasts, listen to videos, just like be around it and be exposing your brain to it more. And I love what you said about sharing. Certainly for me, that's leveled me up so much in my witchcraft, my tarot, all of it. Like the accountability that I have from that as well. Like the ongoing desire to share means I need to have something to share. I need to have read something, learned something, figured something out. And so it keeps me going. And it's good to know what other people think as well. So it's a very, very good two-step method for getting past the overwhelm for sure. I know I told you at the beginning that I wanted to look for readings from you because I want a reading from you. I have wanted a reading from you for over a year now. And I know you said that you might be offering some at a certain point. I will put your YouTube channel down below. Is there anything else you want to direct people to? Any social media platforms? Of course, I'll put all of them below if you want me to mention them or anything, and anything you've got coming up you want people to know about.
Yeah, so yeah, if you want a reading for right now, you can email me, or you can even contact me through Instagram. It's all Atypical Tarot. Also, for Tarot Summer School, I have a course there. So that is, if you go on my YouTube channel, there's a video that has a link to how to get to that. So there's
I'll
the
need to watch
video.
that.
It's a tarot summer school video. So that's available, and I think that that would be a great. I mean, if you're just getting started, it's a great foundational course. So I think that check that out. I think that's something that I put a lot into, and I feel like it would be helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. That's
Mm.
awesome. I love Tarot Summer School. I've done a course with Tarot Summer School too.
Uh,
That's wicked. I'm in good company here. Awesome. Will, thank you so much for coming and chatting to me and sharing such interesting slices of your life. I'm going to be thinking about the origin story and the like leaving religion story for the rest of the day now. It's just such a big epic tale so far. Thank you so much. And yeah, be interested to see everything you do in the future. And I really just appreciate the time.
yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've enjoyed talking to you. I enjoy your channel. In fact, I mean, I think that like one of my first decks I got from watching your channel. I think you did a review of the Steampunk Tarot. I got that one. You did a review of the Zombie Tarot. I got that one. Then you did the what was it? The Dragons,
Oh yeah, I like dragons.
Starry Dragons. I got that one. Just you know,
Awesome.
but just different things here and there, and also your religion video. That was very helpful for me too. I remember watching that one. That was really good. So yeah, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
We've been on a journey together for a while now. Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.